All right, welcome back to the Copywriters Podcast with your host, the world's greatest copywriting coach, David Garfinkel. David, how are you doing today?
Nathan, I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic, and for the video viewers, they can already see why. We've got a very special guest lined up for this week's episode, so I'm going to play a fly on the wall and absorb as much as I can and hand it over to you.
Okay, great. So our returning champion is superstar Mike Pavlish, and I'm not exaggerating when I say superstar. Mike's been writing copy for over 30 years, and his copy has sold $750 million, that's with a B, dollars in products and services. Mike is going to give us some closely held secrets about video sales letters, VSLs, today, VSLs that sell like crazy. So first, you ought to hear what one of his clients says about Mike. I happen to know this person myself because he flew over from Singapore to San Francisco nearly 10 years ago to attend a seminar I had organized. His name is Alvin Huang, and listen to what he has to say. We've tested Mike Pavlish's copy against 5 other A-list copywriters, including many of the top names in the world for sales letters and VSLs. Mike's copy has won every single time. For us, Mike Pavlish has been the Steph Curry of copywriters. All right. And, there's only one way to get a testimonial like that, and that's to earn it with results. So we've talked Mike into sharing some ideas with us about how to get those results with the VSL. Mike has written more than 150 VSLs, long form VSLs, which is one of 4 types. He'll explain that in a minute. And dozens of them have brought in $10 million or more in sales. But before we get into Mike's secrets, let's talk about a big one straight from Copywriters Podcast. Copy is powerful. You're responsible for how you use what you hear in this podcast. Most of the time, common sense is all you need. But if you make extreme claims or if you're writing offers for highly regulated industries like health, finance, and business opportunity, you may want to get a legal review after you write and before you start using your copy. My larger clients do this all the time. So, Mike, thanks for coming back. Your 2 podcasts last year were incredibly popular with our subscribers, and we're grateful that you've agreed to join us again.
Sure, my pleasure, David.
Why do VSLs work so good?
Because they use sound, sight, emotion, and personality, as opposed to a sales letter on paper and ink only uses sight and some visuals. But a video sales letter, you have movement, motion, the visual, then you have sound, you have movement, which is very important, and then you have the personality of the person giving the presentation on the VSL. For example, I think that in today's society, our competition is not really other sales letters or other products that we think compete with us, but our real competition is from TikTok and from Facebook, because TikTok runs those videos as short as 15 seconds each. And people from the age of 10 up to 90 years old are, by the tens of millions, just sit there hours a day and just watch those. And they're getting a dopamine hit every 15 seconds with a new video. So I guess what I'm saying is the video sales letters usually work a lot better than a written sales letter, because people are used to getting that constant video dopamine hit where they're getting sound and motion and something new, visually. So you're playing into what's needed in today's consumer.
That's really good, and I'm glad you pull it together that way. I haven't heard all of those elements combined into like one core idea the way you just did it. And I think everyone should take note, including old school guys our age, right? I mean, this is the world we're living in, not the one we want to live in or we used to live in. So thank you for that. All right. You say there are 4 types of VSLs. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. But first I want to say, let's go back even to about 30 years ago when infomercials first came out. You had Tony Robbins' Personal Power was one of the first ones. And that was a VSL and was on TV. And then now today, the big one is like that people may know as Emerald Lagasse. Emerald's Pots and Pans has a hot offer on a half hour infomercial. So infomercials are really just VSLs. They're the same thing. It's a half hour infomercial or an hour infomercial. And a VSL is, most of the long form ones are half hour to an hour long. So I just wanted people to relate. If they've seen the Emerald spot on TV, that's really what a VSL is. We use the word VSL usually for video sales letter to mean it runs online on the internet, but it's really the same as a TV infomercial. So getting back to your question, the different types of VSLs really are differentiated by how long they are. You've got the TikTok ones that are as short as 15 seconds up to, minutes. And then you've got the short VSLs, which are anywhere from, say, 5 minutes to 12 minutes. This 5 to 12 minute short VSL works best if the product is really simple to explain and doesn't need a lot of sales copy, or if it's a warm audience that already knows your product. The next one, and the ones I usually write, are 30-minute to 60-minute VSLs. These are the long copy ones. And these are the ones that are proven, thousands of them to be very effective and profitable, whether it's on Facebook, from Instagram, from even leading off to TikTok, to YouTube, to whatever media you run. The reason, David, I think, is that most people underestimate the amount of time and copy that's needed to sell somebody on a product or a service.
Especially when they're not in the room with you. I mean, a good salesman or woman can often sell something pretty quickly by responding to questions, body language, other nonverbal cues. You don't have that option with a VSL. You've got to anticipate it and answer it without coming across as too hackneyed or corny about it. And you got to button it all up before you ask for the order, right?
Oh yeah, it's probably 5 or 10 times harder to sell on a remotely by a VSL or sales letter than it is in person. So you have to pile on. You have to create a story, a unique mechanism, all the things we've learned over the years, and pile on the benefits and the proof. Most people think they can run like an e-com page or short copy, but they find out the numbers don't really work. And that's usually why, to successfully sell a product or service, the most profitable media by far in video is a 30 to 60-minute long VSL.
Yeah, but Mike, you have a fourth one too, don't you? You call it a hybrid page. Could you explain that?
Sure. A hybrid VSL page is a combination of both a VSL and a text sales letter. When you land on the page, you'll see click here to play the video. And the video will be however long, and it'll go through the whole sales process. But for people that land on that page that prefer to read, that basically that whole same sales message copy will be in text also on the page. So you're using both video and text.
Okay. Yeah. So there's four kinds. The TikTok one. Oh, you didn't say how to use the TikTok one. Is that basically for entertainment or for, I'm choking as I say these words, brand awareness, or are there other things that go on there?
People are using it successfully to drive traffic to longer sales copy or longer video sales letters. So it's kind of a tease video.
Yeah, Nathan mentioned that last week. He calls them scroll stoppers, I think, and he says that he just basically uses them to get people off TikTok to a larger piece. Yeah,
I use them basically as lift messages.
Mike, you want to start with your 8 keys for a blockbuster VSL? I have a feeling we're going to need to do another show with you to finish these all up, but let's get started anyway.
Okay, sure, David. You want to start at the very beginning, like with research on?
Absolutely.
Okay. hope this doesn't bore anybody, but to have a very successful VSL, a lot of your success or your failure is going to come from your research, which is the most unglamorous, hardest part of copywriting and marketing. But you're researching both internal and external factors to try to come up with a big idea for your VSL. And that can be something that's happening in the news today. That can be something that's involved in an emerging trend that's going on in the world that's kind of starting to emerge and get hot, but that not everybody knows about yet. That can be something you find out about a story or a benefit of one of the ingredients in the product or the supplement you're selling. So the research, which can take days, weeks, it's hard to tell till you get into it. That's what's going to unearth the big idea for your VSL, which a big idea, what I mean is the concept. When people look at your headline in the beginning of your VSL, what makes this special, unique, why people should pay attention to it, that why this is something they haven't seen or heard about before.
Yeah, let's talk about the research. I love what you're saying, research to get the big idea. I'm not sure everyone, if you haven't been through it, you may not quite understand, because a lot of people think of research as, oh, well, I will find the features. I will turn the features into benefits. Those benefits will be bullets and headlines. And that's like step one, right? But what you're saying is, no, you need to come up with unique ideas, more than one, and actually more than one type. I remember you said you had 3 psychologists last time we talked on retainer to help you really understand the conversation going on in the mind of your market.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty rare research. Are there other things that you look at or look for, maybe people aren't familiar with generally?
Mm-hmm. Maybe let's make this exciting now and just throw something at me like a product, and I'll kind of go through ways that I would research to get a big idea for. It can be any kind of product or service.
How about your press that you make your coffee with, David?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got a space age Arobi AeroPress coffee maker. Um, it it's designed by an engineer who teaches at Stanford, and it's like wild. So yeah, it's a very
Okay.
very fast, very high quality, very low cost coffee maker.
All right, that's going to be a great example. Yeah, that'll be a great example. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by talking to the client and finding out what type of person buys this and why do they buy it. That's number one. From that, we may find out that the person, everyone that buys it, let's say he's had five or she's had 5,000 or 10,000 sales or something. Everyone that buys it is high income, a coffee aficionado, and they buy high end whole beans, premium price coffee. And the reason they buy this AeroPress is because they feel the coffee is a pure taste. Then we go on to forums online. We Google coffee lovers forums, and we start searching around and maybe look at the keyword AeroPress, maybe make some post. Hey, what do you think about AeroPress? We're looking to find people that have a lot, are commenting on AeroPress, what they're saying about it. Maybe we can get conversations going. Then we Google around and we start reading all the articles about coffee, AeroPress, and about coffee trends and about what people like and don't like about the coffee they're buying. Upscale coffee buyers, what they like and don't like. From there, now we probably have the benefits that we're going to feature and lead with. Okay, now we've got to wrap it somehow into a big idea. So you mentioned an engineer, right?
Mm-hmm.
The engineer may have some kind of a backstory. It could be a frustrated engineer, coffee lover, invents his own, coffee machine maker. An emerging trend could be people are now getting better than Starbucks quality at home for half the price, with the AeroPress. That's
That's
got a lot of
definitely true.
Yeah, exactly.
In my experience, you know.
Yeah, right, exactly. Throw your Starbucks in the garbage. This is better and costs half price. If that's what the customer wants. From our research, could be from our research we find out that the AeroPress eliminates certain toxins.
It
Could be
it
that.
it actually does. Yeah, it filters out a lot of the acidic oils that
Yeah.
other coffee processes don't.
I
But
So
it
think
that
sounds like you actually know this product. Is that true?
Not really, but I would find everything out from the forums and from talking to people. I would go into Starbucks or other gourmet coffee places and I talk to people. If that's showing up a lot that coffee's too acidic, that could be the big idea right there. That here's the best way to get rid of the acid taste in coffee.
I got to say, this guy should really hire you because he's done a terrible job of marketing, but the product is so damn good that people in comments just can't stop talking about it. And everyone I tell about it influenced a number of copywriters and other friends. That's what word of mouth marketing, social proof marketing, referral marketing. I don't know, but no, this is a very interesting conversation. Yeah. And this is how you write those $10 million plus VSLs. I mean, a lot of people think that this kind of brainstorming is, oh, let's get some. I'll keep this PG. Some Play-Doh and throw it up against the wall, and think of what words does coffee remind you of, and all kinds of really stupid, uninformed, ignorant approaches to brainstorming. You're talking about a very directed research based on customers' experiences with the coffee and based on trends and based on, boy, this is, I hope people understand this, common sense intuitions, common sense conclusions based on what you found.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The best copywriting always comes from the market itself. What are their wants that aren't being met right now, or what are their desires? If you
Sure.
can give people what they want that they're not getting now, boom, you've got a blockbuster success. But if you just, like you said at the beginning of this discussion, if you just do that step one initial research that you just talked about, or that superficial research that just covers the basics, you'll never get down to these great big ideas under the surface.
Yeah. Well, this is a really valuable guided tour of how to do that. But let's say you've got your big idea. Next comes the lead, and you have some interesting ideas about the lead, including at least one I've never heard of, which is using proof elements to tease benefits later on. But what goes on in the lead in a blockbuster VSL?
Sure. Yeah, if your listeners are taking notes, the lead has to have the following elements to it to be a blockbuster big winner. It has to have the benefit promise, has to have curiosity, has to have differentiation, and it has to sound or be different than everything else they've heard and read. And it has to have proof that it works, or credibility of some sort. When you have the benefit promise, the curiosity, the differentiation, and the proof, boom. How can a prospect not continue to read and be interested in it? Because you're covering all the key things. One of the ones that I would talk about that is not mentioned or talked about that much is curiosity. Curiosity is one of the strongest selling elements in direct response marketing. The human mind is attracted to curiosity and wants to find out what is the answer that the curiosity is bringing up. In other words, if I say frustrated scientist develops this coffee, blah, 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 right? That curiosity, maybe, I'm not saying this is a great example because it's totally off the fly, but frustrated scientist or frustrated coffee lover. What was he frustrated about? It's like, it makes me curious. Develops acid-free coffee, or maybe that's in quotes, acid-free coffee. And maybe that gets my curiosity up, because I'm a coffee lover and drinker too. And most of the coffee, or a lot of the coffee, and really good coffee, is you do get that acid taste, right?
Yep.
So if I see acid-free coffee, if I see in quotes acid-free coffee, or if I see something like something that's going to provoke curiosity, like those two things, or smooth as silk, or a brand new breakthrough process, discovered by a scientist or an engineer. Those things just build my curiosity. It's kind of you create an open loop.
It's interesting because curiosity is one of 4 elements. You have benefit, promises, differentiation, and proof, as well as curiosity. I think the mistake a lot of people make, and I'd love your opinion on this, is that they think curiosity alone is going to do the job, which is, I think, both a combination sometimes of laziness and sometimes of not knowing any better. But it's like curiosity is going to drive you, but if it's just curiosity without any what's in it for me, any benefit, anything solid, then it's curiosity like a Twitter thread, or a blog post, or newspaper article for people who still remember newspapers.
Right. It has to be the complete package. That initial headline, or that initial 10 seconds in a video, if that doesn't capture people, there's no way you can be successful. The video can be successful. Differentiation is crucial too, because let's say a coffee, getting back to the example you brought up, let's say a person that's interested in great coffee, they've read about, in most cases, by the time they're looking or seeing something on the internet, they've read about all the common things, and they won't even pay any attention to something that sounds common and everyday, because they've already read about it. So your lead and your VSL has to immediately be and sound different in what it's promising. Can't be generic garbage and generic wording. It has to be laser specific, exciting.
I just want to point out that having those 4 things in there, benefit, promises, curiosity, differentiation, and proof, in the first 10 seconds, first 30 seconds, that's that's a big job. And I'm guessing you might spend a lot of time honing and machining and massaging and tweaking that lead to get it right. Am I right?
Absolutely. Right.
Well, listen, I know you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more points, but how about you come back next week and we cover those, because you have given us a ton of info, and we're just getting started. I hate it. We're just getting started.
Before we lose you, Mike, I do have a question for you. And this is something that I've noticed, especially with more and more content going video. If I'm writing from an email and it's text, sending somebody to a text page works really well. If I'm sending somebody from a YouTube video or a TikTok ad to a text page, it doesn't seem to work as well, because it feels like the people are in video watching mode. So when they hit the page, they want more video content. My question for you is, it's important to deliver the same style of content. How do you make the transition from somebody who's in, I want to consume 15-second video content, to, okay, you're going to sit down and watch a 5-minute video or a 30-minute video? How do you make that transition?
The quality of the big idea. Like, if it's something that someone really wants badly, and you can present in the first 10 to 30 seconds how wonderful it's going to change their life, and you can prove it, make it sound different, curious, and a big benefit promise, that's the only way,
Okay.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. They're in 15-second video mode. You got to work with that 15 seconds, because that's where you've got them. That's the overlap of what you're trying to get accomplished and what they're trying to get accomplished.
that too. And we're finding too, like in video sales letters, that you have to, even if it's a 60-minute, 1 hour video sales letter, the copy in that hour, you have to constantly, with the video production and with the copy, you have to constantly keep people interested by different copy techniques, which I'll get into next podcast.
Okay, I cannot wait until the continuation of this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today. Listeners, if you're enjoying this and you want to make sure you don't miss the second half, make sure you're subscribed to Copywriters Podcast, and you can do that over at copywriterspodcast.com. David, Mike, anything before we're out of here?
I just want to thank Mike. The only thing I'm afraid of is people aren't going to realize how valuable this information is. It's not theoretical. It's hard-won experience. It's rare, and thank you, Mike. I'll let go of my fears, and people are going to do whatever they damn please. But thank you so much for sharing this. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next time, we will catch you later.
Catch you later.